Hi everyone, it's Peter from the Education Department at Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium, and I'm here in the home studio for another edition of Zoo from Home. You probably just finished watching that great video of Guinea Fowl. And Guinea Fowl is an animal that I didn't really know much about before. And like a lot of animals that I don't know much about before, what I like to do is think about the different categories and classifications and groupings for that animal so I can compare it to other animals that I do know a lot about. And one thing I know about guinea fowl is that they're a lot like a chicken, even though that doesn't look very much like a chicken. There are three basic ways that we group animals based on what they eat. The first word we have is for animals that just eat meat. We call those carnivores. If you said carnivore, good job. I want everyone to make carnivore jaws with their mouth like a shark or a lion and say carnivore. Good. But some animals just eat plants like a cow. That's called an herbivore. I want you all to make cow mouths with your hands and say herbivore. There's some animals that eat both plants and animals. That's kind of the same thing that people do. So I know something that only people can do that animals can't do, and that's rub their bellies and pat their heads. The word for animals that eat both meat and plants is called omnivore. Everyone try to do this and say omnivore. Good. Which do you think guinea fowl is? Do you think they're carnivores like a shark? Do you think they're herbivores like a cow? Or do you think they're omnivores? Show me your answer with your hands. If you said omnivores, you got that right. Give yourself a round of applause. Nicely done. Guinea fowl will follow around troops of monkeys and eat the fruit that falls off of them because they like plants. But they'll also eat the ticks and the fleas that fall off the mice or fall off of the monkeys because they are omnivores. They also need meat. In fact, people have domesticated guinea fowl. Remember we learned about that yesterday? So that now guinea fowl are raised by farmers because they can help keep those pest bugs away from the other animals that they're raising. Hey, let's practice moving like a guinea fowl. And we're going to walk with wings and our 2 feet, and we're going to try to eat all of the bugs that we can find. Good job. Are you ready for our game? Today, because we know guinea fowl are also in the group of animal called birds, I want to talk to you about some of the traits of birds. I'm going to tell you a trait of a bird, and if you think that's a real trait of a bird, you're going to flap your arms like a bird and try to fly away. But if you think that is not a trait of a bird, I want you to say, no, that's not a trait of a bird. Okay, here is your first trait. Are birds covered in feathers? If you are flapping your arms like a bird, you got that right. Give yourself a pat on the back. All birds are covered in feathers, even penguins. Penguins might look like they're covered in fur, like this fake fur here. But actually, because they're a bird, they're covered in feathers. There's a different name for animals covered in fur, like this polar bear here. That word is mammals. Yeah, if you said mammals, give yourself a pat on the back. I know some of you got that already. Okay, next trait. Remember, flap your arms for bird. Say no if it's not a bird. Has no teeth at all. That's a bird trait, right? Birds don't have teeth. Birds have beaks. Look at this beak. Birds can do a lot with their beaks. They can climb trees, they can eat food, and way more. After this program, maybe you can think of some things that birds do with their beak and share them with your parents, or look for pictures of birds doing different things with their beaks. And for you bigger kids, one really cool thing about not having teeth is it makes birds lighter and helps them fly better. Okay, next trait. Feeds milk to their babies. What do you think? That's not a trait of birds. Remember, that's a trait of mammals. Mammals feed their babies milk. Birds usually will do something called regurgitation for their babies. Look at that. That's a king penguin regurgitating to its baby, which means it swallows the food and then it throws it up into its baby's mouth. Yummy. I don't want to see comments from kids whose parents said they had to feed them that way tomorrow, okay? Your parents can still feed you like a normal person. All right, next trait. Can fly. Is that a trait of birds? No, that is not a trait of birds. Of course birds can fly, right? There's birds flying out my window right now. But not all birds can fly. In fact, the biggest bird in the world can't fly. See if you can guess what that is. Here's a picture of it. And here's a farther out picture. If you said ostrich, you're right. Ostrich is the biggest bird in the world, and they are way too heavy to fly, but they still have wings. All right, next question. Warm-blooded. Are birds warm-blooded? What do you think? Warm-blooded, by the way, means they can control their body temperature. So inside of their body is the same even when they're out in the cold or out in the hot. That's true. Birds are a warm-blooded animal. That's why we have penguins in the snow at the zoo. Okay, next trait. Covered in scales. Okay, this one's really tricky, but yes, birds have scales. Look at this foot. It looks like a weird lizard foot, but actually that is the foot of a bird. That's the ostrich's foot, all zoomed in. Birds have scales on their feet, and some birds even have them on their legs or their face. All right, last one. Lays eggs. Definitely a trait of a bird. You probably have some eggs at home, a lot like this one. Do you know what bird those eggs at home come from? Right, a chicken. But birds aren't the only animal that can lay eggs. Do you know an animal that's not a bird that can lay eggs? Well, if you said any kind of lizard or snake or turtle or reptile, you're right. Also, fish lay eggs, insects lay eggs, amphibians lay eggs. Lots of animals lay eggs. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll be back again tomorrow with another video from the zoo, as well as another activity that you can download and another video. Be sure to use hashtag #ThisIsHowWeZoo to share your learning journey with us. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.